I saw a little bit of one spring practice. All I got to see was drills, and I'm already drinking the Kool-Aid. I think Georgia's wide receiver room is going to be better than it was in 2024. I think that this is one of the positions that Georgia actually upgraded this offseason. When you look around the roster and you look at position group by position group, some of them stayed the same. The running back room is largely the same with ETN gone. The tight ends are pretty much the same with Urasek leaving. Secondary is different. A lot of these positions are different. Georgia's receivers are the only group that I'm tabbing right now, and part of this is because I don't know, as one that is definitely going to be improved from last year. Ryan Curley from Dawg Post talking about Georgia's wide receivers, and we've talked about them a ton over the last 8 months, right? When you head back into the season and you think about how it started with, oh, they don't have Ladd McConkey, they don't have Brock Bowers. How will Carson Beck do without them? Well, it turns out he didn't do as well without them, right? His play dropped off from 2023 to 2024. Georgia's offensive unit as a whole dropped off from 2023 to 2024, and things were different. And Arian Smith ended up being your number one wide receiver. And look, Arian Smith has some traits that are hard to come by, and you can't coach. The speed, that's pretty much it, right? No hate on Arian, but he had drop problems. He did get better as a route runner, but he's not a true number one receiver at the collegiate or the professional level. They didn't have a game-breaking player that they could say, hey, let's get the ball. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that they have that this coming season, but I think the room as a whole is better. And when you think about just the fact that they're getting a fresh start, in terms of this passing game, my question is more about the quarterback, right? And it looks like it'll be Gunnar Stockton. Can Gunnar Stockton do a better job than we saw last year, which is, I think, what you'll need to see out of Georgia if you want to see them competing for a national championship again with new receivers? Zachariah Branch, Noah Thomas. They brought in a couple of freshmen who I think will push for playing time. Taylon Tabor is the one that people are all over in terms of, hey, we're excited about this guy. He's wearing number 11. He's wearing Arian Smith's number. He was one of the best receivers in this high school class. CJ Wiley, another big body. They got London Humphrey still. They've got Dylan Bell still. In addition, they've got Nitro Tuggle. They've got Scovie White-Helton. I think that as a room, it's just a little bit more balanced. And I failed to mention, they get Kobe Young back. When you rewind to 2024 and you think about what happened at the beginning of the season, before the season started, I think everyone was excited about what Georgia's wide receiver room would look like. Excited because it looked like it was going to be pretty good. When you think about, they just brought in Kobe Young from the transfer portal. The previous year before that, they brought in Dominic Lovett, and they brought in Ra Thomas. And you said, hey, when you add London Humphreys into that mix, you add Dylan Bell into that mix, and Arian Smith, you think it's going to be a pretty good room. Well, Ra Thomas suspended off the team, right? So that didn't happen. Kobe Young only played a handful of games. And this is a group that had serious drop problems. And there are different reasons why Georgia's momentum was killed at certain points. There are different reasons why they lost some of these games. But the receivers not being up to task is one of the reasons why Georgia struggled last year and why Carson Beck struggled. There were definitely plays where Carson Beck struggled on his own, and that had nothing to do with his wide receivers. There were certainly some plays like that, and I don't think that's even worth discussing right now. But when you think about college football and you think about these teams that win, they've got studs at this position. They've got studs. Now, I think it's yet to be seen if any of these guys are studs. I think Zachariah Branch certainly has that opportunity. Noah Thomas very much stood out to me, and I will get into more details about what I saw to them in a minute. But let's just go back to the memory bank and think about the national championship teams. What have they had? Now, they've got a lot of other things. That's not me discrediting these defenses, these coaches, and the other ingredients that come with winning a national championship. But almost all of these teams have stud receivers. 24. Jeremiah Smith, Emeka Egbuka, Carnell Tate. Guess who was important in that game? Jeremiah Smith. Michigan, not quite the same. And like I said, there are other ingredients to winning a national championship that goes with all these teams. But they didn't have really a stud. Colston Loveland's a really good tight end. Roman Wilson was a solid receiver. 22 Georgia, Brock Bowers, Ladd McConkey, A.D. Mitchell. These guys are in the NFL. 21 Georgia, same thing. In addition to Jermaine Burton and George Pickens there at the end. 2020 Alabama. Oh, guess who? The Heisman winner, Devontae Smith. 2019 LSU. The two best receivers in the NFL right now, Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. 2018 Alabama. Jalen Waddle. Was Jerry Jeudy on that team? You get the point. They had a lot of guys at that spot. And I just misspoke because it was Clemson that won in 2018. Excuse me. They had T. Higgins. All right? He's starting alongside Jamar Chase. 2017 was Alabama, and you get the point there. It was Devontae Smith that eventually caught the dagger touchdown against Georgia. They had other guys on that roster. So, I mean, you can go back, nearly a decade, and this is football. The wide receiver position is very important. It's a game-changing position, and having elite pass catchers makes things difficult. There are very, very good secondaries in college football right now. Texas had one of them. Georgia had to deal with it twice. Georgia's passing game struggled twice against the Longhorns. Georgia's passing game was all over the place, I would say. Against Notre Dame, they had one of the best secondaries in college football. You saw them struggle. Georgia needs that. They need stars on offense. All right? Dean talked about Elijah Griffin and will he become the next Jalen Carter? That would be great. That would be very helpful for Georgia. It would help solve some things, but it was the offensive side of the ball where Georgia struggled this past season, and part of it was because they didn't have dudes they could rely on. Is Zachariah Branch going to be that guy? Is Zachariah Branch going to be that guy who is a game changer, is a go-to weapon? Highly ranked recruit, top 10 guy, 5-star, number 1 receiver in the 23 class, goes to USC, plays with Caleb Williams, and he's kind of a gadget player and a return man. Now he's a true freshman. Move on to 2024, his sophomore year, largely the same with Miller Moss at quarterback for the most part. They went through a quarterback change later on in the season. But he's just used as a gadget player. Will Georgia just use him as a gadget player? That's my question. Will Georgia use him as a gadget player, or will they allow him to be a Ladd McConkey? He was more than a gadget player. Noah Thomas, to me, is someone, the 6'6 guy, 6'5", out of Texas A&M that they brought in. To me, he's somebody that I think you just need on the outside. Now, you're getting that with Kobe Young as well, but I think I referenced it in my practice report video the other day. They didn't have that. They didn't have a go up and go get it guy because they didn't use the tight ends as much without Brock Bowers. They just went away from that, even though Oscar Delpin, Lawson Lucky, and company are very talented players. They went away from that. And then they didn't have Kobe Young. They didn't have Ra Thomas. They didn't have an X receiver. If Kobe Young is around and Noah Thomas is around, like it looks like it'll be, they've got that. I think that this room has pretty much everything now. It's got speed and explosion. You get that with Zachariah Branch. You get some speed out of London Humphreys. I think you get that with Nitro Tuggle and Sokobe White. You got size, Kobe Young and Noah Thomas. And you've got youth too. You've got younger players that can come in, and you've got older players that are experienced. So I think you got a little bit of a mix of everything with this Georgia wide receiver room. I do think that it just has an opportunity to be better. And if it's Gunnar Stockton throwing the ball, you'll want his life to be easy when he hasn't had a ton of experience at this level. I think that this group has an opportunity to do that for him. Thank you for watching.